It's going to be the worst thing ever, except for the fact that we cured Parkinson's. So I'll take it.
I am 100% with you. I hated everything you just said except for We Cure Parkinson's. If We Cure Parkinson's, they're making a Back to the Future movie.
They would have to. Like, wouldn't it be kind of rude if Michael J. Fox recovered from Parkinson's and they were like, "Nah, we'll pass."
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress.
We are robots. The theme of this episode is that Bamis and Gayev are robots.
We're like remember Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey when there were robots and they peel back their faces and there's robots in there?
I don't remember that one. Which Bill and Ted was that?
That was number 2.
Oh, wow. How many were there?
Well, there were 2, and then they made one a couple of years ago because that's what they've been doing lately.
Oh, really? I thought there were like 3 or 4, and I was wondering when they were going to make one recently. Who was it? Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, this fad of like they made like a
Yeah,
weird Matrix thing, and they're
yeah.
making sequels to movies that like had sequels, but like 20 years ago. So
Ghostbusters.
yeah.
Fucking
So
yeah. Are they going to do Back to the Future? They should do a Back to the Future one.
I have mixed feelings about whether or not I think they ought to do that.
Well, I guess I'm assuming that they are going to do that because there's a Back to the Future musical on Broadway right now. So somebody, I'm sure they could be testing the creative waters, getting fucking audience information. But like, why the fuck? How the fuck could you not? I mean, I guess you just don't have Marty McFly. That's the thing. That's the thing that's because he may. I would imagine that. Oh, I can't remember this actor's name right now. I remember, but I know he has Parkinson's disease.
He has Parkinson's degrees.
He has a degree in Parkinson's disease.
I can't go any longer without mentioning all the smoke. I think someone, yeah, it smells like barbecue. It smells like charcoal. It's 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 sending messages to my brain.
I got excited about barbecue season because I've had that happen in my neighborhood as well, but also we just have like wood burning stoves. I fucking love the smell of fire. It is the only thing redeemable about winter up here.
Yeah, we get that a little bit over here.
Yeah. Dude,
It's
I can't wait
just,
till you come up to my place.
oh man, we'll have to plan some sort of something or other.
Yeah, it will
Um,
happen. Maybe in the summer.
just to return briefly to our Back to the Future question.
Yes.
I don't know, because I think part of me, the giddy, nostalgic, like, yeah, just make a thing. I've been waiting for so many years for them to decide to do something. Could you imagine seeing a trailer and like just a little light piano of a part of the theme? But
Oh,
I don't think. I mean, it would have to be perfect, or you shouldn't do it. And what are the odds that it's going to come out perfect? It's a different world than it was when they made those films. Like, it wouldn't there'd be something
yeah.
missing. I don't think they should do. I don't
I
after
mean, I
seeing. Yeah.
I think I'm operating in the world in which none of these should have been made, but they're going to continue getting made anyway. So I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm
No,
not
I mean,
rooting for this, but here's if it does happen, I'm like I'm honestly shocked that it hasn't happened. And I think the only reason is that Michael J. Fox has Parkinson's and can't act right now. I think it would feel sacrilegious if they did it without him. But here is how it's gonna happen. We're going to cure Parkinson's, and Michael J. Fox is going to be one of the first, ones to get cured. And then they're going to come and they're going to do a movie. They're going to do a Back to the Future movie, and they're going to play on that, and he's going to be in it, and there's going to be AI, and it's going to be the weirdest, most bizarre fucking thing in the world, and it's going to be terrible. It's going to bomb, but it's going to get some real good reviews because it's going to be like, this is such a heartfelt story about how Michael J. Fox turned his life story into back to, there's gonna be some of that like New York Times love bullshit. It's gonna be it's gonna be the worst thing ever. except for the fact that we cured Parkinson's. So I'll take it.
I am 100% with you. I hated everything you just said except for we cure Parkinson's. If we cure Parkinson's, they're making a Back to the Future movie.
I mean, they would have to. Like, wouldn't it be kind of rude if Michael J. Fox recovered from Parkinson's and they were like, "Nah, we'll pass on making Back to the Future 4 or whatever."
Yeah, no, if they like if we were able to cure that, then the world owes it to him.
We owe it to him, exactly. If he doesn't want to do it, I guess that's I don't know. I also kind of feel like at that point the universe would owe it to us. It'd be like, yeah, you're just going to cure Parkinson's and then not possibly make the worst or best movie of all time out of it. What a cultural story that would be.
Mm.
I feel
Yeah,
like whatever movie we made, we would send it to the aliens and it would be an exact and fair representation of humanity.
mhm.
All right, I'll try to come off that train. I realize I just went pretty wild there.
You went where you always go, which is why why it's a good balance. Because
Okay.
I'm on Earth, but I see it through my glasses, and then you are sort of the extraterrestrial, and so I feel like I'm like the anchor, and you're like what allows us to explore.
Okay. I like that. That may be the best thing that my self-esteem has ever heard.
Well, tell your
Uh,
self-esteem it was my pleasure.
oh, guffaw. Is this like what it means to guffaw?
I
Just
don't
when
think
you,
that's what a guffaw is, but I mean, sure.
the thing I was actually trying to the sound I was at, it was like daw. You know that thing where it's like daw, that's so sweet. Did I just have a daw moment?
It was a daw, not a guffaw. A guffaw is different. I got in trouble. I got in trouble once because I was doing fly rail for a dance show,
Mhm.
and the piece that they were teching their piece, and I'm up there on the fly rail, and it was one of these pieces where it's like, you know how there's sort of a meeting place between pure dance piece and then like sort of devised theater
Yeah.
where there's language, they put spoken words in it,
Yeah.
and that can be done really well. I mean, some of the most amazing theater I've ever seen in my life has been in that realm.
Mhm.
But it can also sometimes
Be horrible.
be just kind of corny and whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm up there on the fly rail. I've listened to this piece several times during Tech Weekend, and Jace Egan came up to the fly rail. He was keeping me company. We're bullshitting. I've got the headset on, so when I got to do stuff, I didn't like. It
Mhm.
wasn't a tech heavy show for me, so I was able to
Yeah.
bullshit with him. And he was
Yeah.
always really good at just doing a deep pull from some, like he'll quote he's kind of like, this sounds self-aggrandizing because I'm praising this thing that he does, but it's a thing that I, at least, even if I can't do it successfully, at least I very much appreciate it. He'll pull like an obscure line from something.
Oh.
Um, so there was one line, the piece ends with someone saying, "Freedom is a possibility." And I had heard it however many times, and we're up there, we're bullshitting, and then it comes to the end, and we hear, "Freedom is a possibility," and he just lightly elbows me and he goes, "Your boy Captain America over here," and I burst into laughter, uncontrolled, and like they heard us.
Uh,
And
uh,
so later I had to face Ralph Carhart, who's still there now. Now he's my colleague, and now
oh,
I'm a
that's
teacher
tough.
there. And he
That's why you
wasn't.
didn't get promoted earlier, by the way. That's why you didn't get the job.
It was him. Yeah, no. I mean, he was all right about it. He didn't like make up too big a stink out of it, but it was shitty. I like,
Yeah.
imagine doing your thing and then someone who's doing tech
It's
for it is like laughing at you, you know?
yeah, it's
Um,
definitely not it's not a good look.
but we could have been laughing about something else. It was just, but he said, he was like, "So you guys were guffawing up there." And I was like, I felt, I had egg on my face because it's really a bad look for someone who is as theater centric as I have been
I
for
know.
I felt
Yeah.
really bad when he said you guys were guffawing because I guess I guffawed.
You kind of guffawed. You had a good guffaw. Guffaws are like orgasms, but
I
different.
guffawed the government.
I wonder, like, I love this little episode where the actor director goes backstage and operate, does the bagel job, operates the lights, does the tech stuff. Because
Mm,
what a great life that must be. Like you get to you get to be a part of the art, but you don't have people staring at you, and you can kind of just go smoke a cigarette and talk shit with your buddies, and you got a
hmm.
fucking great union, like
Yeah,
that is the
yeah.
life.
I feel like um, I feel like that's probably largely what it was like for Bagel during school
Yeah.
and on some of his professional projects. But I talked to him recently. We did a little session, and it ends up being like anything else, where I'm like, do you meet a lot of because he works on SNL, he works at
Yeah.
Carnegie, he did Fallon for a long time, and so he never has to get in front of the camera. He just does shit that he's really, really good at.
Yeah.
He makes a decent living doing it,
Yeah.
and he works like in the center of the entertainment industry. And so I was asking him like, do you? It's like, have you met people whose work you really admire? And he was like,
Mhm.
no. I was like, really? He's like, I don't talk to the talent, and like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
It's
not
a,
that his job
yeah.
is stressful. What were you gonna say?
No, no, I was just empathizing with that. If he cares to, yeah, I don't know. It's not that it's you continue.
You were
I'll bring that branch back.
you were just giving me backup vocals.
I was just giving you backup vocals. Yes, exactly.
Um, he I think it's that he not that his job has ended up being stressful exactly because he's sort of gotten to the point where now he has people who work under him,
Yeah.
because he's just Bagel, you didn't get to work with him a hell of a lot, um, when we were
No.
younger and doing our stuff, but he's like extremely good at that stuff,
I believe.
and and so he's kind of medium successful already, more than medium, and so he's gotten to the point where he's sort of in charge. He doesn't have the official title because that would mean having to pay him way more money.
Yeah.
um but it's like just the politics of it are kind of a pain in the ass for him. At least that's what he was expressing most. I mean, he enjoys what he does,
Yeah.
but like he's not able to really appreciate being around the movie stars or whatever because A, he doesn't really interact with them that much. He's on the other side, and B, it's just like not to be reductive, it's not just like his pain in the ass job or whatever because he's not
Right.
flipping burgers. He's doing something he's into that he's really good at, but
Yeah.
he's not deriving from it just because what you just sort of painted was this beautiful picture that I want to believe in.
Right, right, right.
And
But it's like SNL kind of like, well, yes, yes. It's like SNL. It's like just it is kind of just another job, and it's probably a hard job, stressful job with annoying people. And let's be honest, SNL isn't what it once was, because there was a time where SNL was the best comedy going. And I guess I would still say like if you're gonna like and even if it's not about like meeting the celebrities, it's about like watching them work. Like, does he get to I guess that's the question is like how much does he get to watch them work while he's
I,
working? I know,
I don't think that's really on his radar very much. And it could be that part of it is that he's not stopping to smell the roses,
Yeah.
but because it is, it's a thing where they get together, they do the first reading on like Tuesday or Wednesday or something.
Yeah.
Like there's no time, and then he's got to like build a bunch of stuff, and it has to be ready in time and all that stuff. So I don't think he doesn't show outwardly that it stresses him out, but it
but
seems
it
like something that
must.
would be, it must be
It's
stressful.
it seems like it definitely must be. I mean, I'm sure they've got it down to a bit of a rhythm or a science, but like it seems like a high pressure job. Does he does he get to be there on Saturday night? Like, is he lighting on Saturday night, or is his job just pre-production?
No, he doesn't. So he mostly, or maybe entirely, does the what do you call that? Like when they do like the digital shorts or whatever, it's the not in the studio stuff. It's
Oh,
when they like make a little thing.
gotcha. Yeah, that's different. That's different. Um, and sometimes, so that's different than seeing the magic of live theater happen with the funniest people on
Right.
the planet. I mean, you
Right, but
still
it's
are seeing some of the funniest people on the planet work, but it's a little like being like, let's be honest, being on a film set, if you're not working, if you're not like having fun being an actor, it sucks. It sucks ass unless you fucking love that shit.
well, I mean, yeah, but I think I mean, yes to that, but also like I've been on sets where like if there's a good vibe in general, like everyone's kind of having a decent time doing the
Right.
stuff that they love doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But if it's not, that is a long day sitting around in relatively uncomfortable whatever. I mean, he's working on SNL, so I'm sure, it's not terrible. But like if you're working on an indie film set, it's not like you got a fucking honey room, you
well,
know?
doing the those digital shorts or whatever they're called, that's more like filmmaking. That's more like making a movie,
Exactly.
which is why I kind of thought, well, so are you like meeting these celebrities and like is it exciting to be there? And he sort of was underwhelmed by it, but it wasn't that he's jaded and doesn't care to meet them or speak to them. It's that like he's not working directly with those people, you know?
Does he get to watch the takes?
Does he get to watch the takes? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, he also isn't an actor, so it's like, does he? Maybe he it's like he doesn't sound like he like gives a shit. Art. Does he like is he artistically passionate about lighting, or is this just kind of where he ended up?
Well, it's a good question, and we'll have to have him on
We should.
because for innumerable reasons that'll be an interesting conversation. But like
Yeah.
when we were kids doing this stuff together, he would be very much anti that, but he kind of did that like to get a rise out of me.
Right.
So it was like part of our dynamic where I was like reading all the acting books and thinking about aesthetics and all these other things, and he was always kind of like just reclining and kind of being a little bit condescending, not in like he was being a piece of shit, but kind of
Right.
he was just yin and my yang a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we
Exactly.
we used to have arguments about like he made a statement once that art doesn't exist. So then we had like a couple of years where like we would
I
go back and
remember this
forth.
one.
You
I
remember
was
this?
involved in Art Doesn't Exist. I wasn't involved, but I came into I think it was during the pandemic. I don't know. I was involved in an Art Doesn't Exist conversation.
Mm.
And because what was his theory is that like it's just there's no it's practicality versus like art is something that what is it? It
I
has
think
something to
his
do with like being useful.
I think his theory back in those days was it's probably really easy to get under the skin of my friend who's real precious about this shit. So I'm gonna just needle him a little bit. I really think that's what it was because
All right.
he worked on a million things with us. He was a member. I mean, he was a theater kid.
Yeah.
He was a tech theater kid. I
I
don't
guess
think
what
you
I'm saying is like your average guy wouldn't come up with such a deep and sharp zinger of art doesn't
right.
exist, like that
Yeah.
that is a smart fucking person to come up with a way to fuck with his artist friend. You don't
Yeah.
even exist, man.
Well, he's so like I would refer to him. I would classify him as an artist. I feel like he would deny it. This is back in the
Yes.
day. These days, he's much more. I mean, he's not like fucking writing haikus in his bedroom or anything, but he's much more. Uh, there's just like that old fun little fight, but kind of it
Right.
existed in a time and a place.
Yeah. Do you think he would want to do indie theater again? It's like, would he like, if benefit of the doubt got together for one last hurrah or one first new hurrah, or if we made our theater company, and do you think like it would be like, hey man, we can't pay you what you're worth, but you want to, you want to come tech our shit? Do you think he would do it?
I don't know. I think if he ended up with like a few weeks free and didn't want to travel the world and was just kind of hanging around single-handedly haunting his own apartment, I feel like
Right.
I could probably. I mean, we were tooling around with an idea a few years ago about doing something, and he was going to do it with us. He was going to do it with us. Time has passed since then, so I don't know. I feel like the first thing I was going to say was we'd have to pay him because
Yeah.
if it were between like because he will turn down one job to go and do the other job, whichever is going to be more lucrative. I
Mhm.
think Carnegie Hall is more lucrative, and I'm talking out of school. I'm airing his dirty laundry or whatever, but I don't think he would care. Um, so the first thing I was going to say is if we could pay him what he's worth, then he would turn down one thing or another thing and come
Yeah.
and spend some time working with us if it didn't fuck with his money in a serious way.
Yeah.
The proposal of like, would he come and do it for not what he's worth? I think it would have to be under a circumstance where it wasn't completely and utterly illogical for him to do it. But yeah, I think if all of the elements in the equation were copacetic or whatever, I
Mhm.
think he'd come and play because we had a great time doing that stuff. And we worked in different theaters. We did a lot of stuff at Queens College, and then we did stuff in a few theaters on the island of Manhattan. And
Yeah.
like he would make fun of me for how precious I was about things and tell me art didn't exist or whatever. But like we would get into spaces, and I'd be like, all right, for this moment we need some stuff to happen with the lights, and he would look at the lighting plot, and there were there when you do like theater guild shows at Queens College you can hang and focus. When you go into a theater, a lot of the times there are limitations, and so the two of us would kind of figure that out to get man, the good old days. um but so he wasn't just like he wasn't like a fucking accountant. Like he was making artistic decisions with me, and then had the technical savvy to actually make those things into reality. I remember one time we did one of our things we did at the Crane. This was like the inception of Put On Your Shorts. We did um, Chris Durang shorts, and that was Act One. Was a bunch of these little tiny plays, and then we had an intermission. And Act Two was The Actor's Nightmare, a short play. And we spent all of our tech time teching all of the shorts, and then we went on break, and there was no time to tech The Actor's Nightmare. We couldn't even do a cue to cue. So I just jumped up on the stage. It was just me and Bagel. Everyone else was across the street eating chicken wings. And I was like, all right, can you see me here? Okay, now give me the next spot. Okay, can you see me here? And he's like, yeah, can you get there in time? I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, I need one like downstage center. And he was like, the pool of light is very small, though. You really have to find your light. Like my toes were hanging off the foot of the stage. And I was like, okay, right
Oh,
here. And he was like, yeah, right there. But are you going to be able to find that? I was like, I can do it. I can do it. So he and I just did a little like sort of a cue to cue, and we
yeah.
just fucking tech that shit like theoretically, and then we had a great fucking show, you know?
That's, I mean, that's fucking magic right there, dude. That's amazing. Whew. That's, I mean, I accidentally muted myself because I put my headphones in.
Mm.
Um, if I could, I just wish I could have just recorded the backup vocals I was giving because I was feeling it. I was just like, I wasn't saying any words. I was just being like, yeah. Like I was listening to myself. I'm like, I can't believe he's not stopping. Why isn't he stopping for my ridiculousness? And then I realized I was on mute. So I was like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
That sounds,
I noticed there was nothing but silence. I wish I could have heard you or when you were in the throes of ecstasy.
oh man, I was at the climax of this podcast. That we got to bring Bagel on and have, because this would be a very interesting conversation to have with Bagel.
Oh yeah.
Let's smoke Bagel the fuck up. Because when does Bagel get more talkative? Because he's just not the most talkative guy, or is it just that I need to shut the fuck up because I'm too talkative? Or usually you and I are kind of bouncing it back and forth a little bit.
He is less talkative than you and I. I feel like, yeah, I feel like he's good and normal, just without any substances. I feel like one or two whiskeys, maybe we can get to the bottom of something. I feel like once he gets to the point where he's using one of his insane apparati, what's the plural for apparatus? Once he
once he
on
brings out a fucking invention of marijuana.
Flux capacitor, yeah. I feel like at that point, what he contributes becomes interdimensional, but it gets slow and few and far between.
I kind of love that. I kind of fucking love that. I like Bagel a lot, man. He's an interesting fucking character.
He'd be a great addition to this conversation, but probably not for every single session. So I feel like it's kind of, because we were talking about this earlier off the record, but I feel like it's the right thing for you and I to be the people who are speaking a lot at each other and bouncing back and forth with the shit that goes from our brains. Yeah. But then to occasionally then involve him, I feel like, because he could contribute to a lot of the stuff that we
for sure
care about, and he could have a really specific insight into it. And he was one of the, when Benefit of the Doubt Theater Company like really existed for real, he was one of the main pillars of that. We could never have done the things that we did if we didn't have him, And even though he would kind of take the piss out of not just me, but also kind of out of theater in general sometimes, or not theater, but just, that thing about art and all that stuff. Like when the chips are down, he's fucking locks in and knows how to, and you'll never see him sweat.
Yeah. He is like, he performs under pressure. He's like, it's that like theater actors have this like swagger about them. They're like, when the live lights go on, I'm like, I have a good show, 8 shows a week or whatever. And and they like film actors are like, there's like your theater actors are looking down their nose. Nah, man, Bagel he seems like a guy that like when the pressure is cooking, he is well done.
Oh yeah, he's a fucking cucumber, that guy. Like, I'd be like, are we going to be able to get all this on time and under budget? And he'll be like, yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to make theater with you again.
We should be making theater together. I wish we had just investors, because I feel like at this point we could let you.
No, don't let me. I'll go later. Sorry. Don't let me.
No,
if I ever say let me, don't let me.
I don't know if I'm coming with you on not letting you when you say let me, because I want to hear what you have to say. I was coming to the end of my thing. I was just going to make some statement about, like, I feel like you and I are at a place where if we were actually working on something creative together, there's no, because of where we're at, like at this point, what's important to us, and also because of who we are and who we are together, there'd be like all the bullshit that sometimes there'd be none of the bullshit. I feel like we would be really economical with the way we spend our time, and we could create some shit and it'd be beautiful. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I can't bring the let me thing back. I was going to say, like, I think we, like, honestly, we should be, at least you and I should just have a 2-hander we're fucking around with that we can, like, rehearse, just not even rehearse. We should just, like, have a play that you and I and, Blondie, if it's a 3-hander, are just doing, and we're rehearsing in our free time, because here's the thing. I am my whole life, like my source of income is just in the money in theater right now. I'm not like a producer, but like I am just hanging out. Like I'm not hanging out with producers, but if I wanted to like socially live my life, I could. So I'm kind of like, I'm making connection. Like I'm basically paying people to go like to these fucking networking events. Like I have a director of business development, and she's like, she rubs elbows with the marketing people and the this and that. And it's
Mm.
just like, all right, eventually I gotta like, there will be an opportunity for there to be an
For you to
investor.
weaponize that.
There will be. And like I don't know what it is, and I'm not like gonna like say like we are gonna try to do this in 2025. But if you and I and Blondie, or even just you and I, like if you actually, how about this? You and I just get obsessed with Godot. We just get obsessed with Waiting for Godot. We find out like, because that is something, hey, like two, like that's something, Waiting for Godot, like, hey, this is a really unique revival of Waiting for Godot. I could pitch someone on that. Like, let's just get obsessed over Godot and just rehearse Waiting for Godot over Zoom. And when we get into, I know I'm going off of the
No,
rails
no,
here.
no, go on.
Waiting for Godot as a podcast. That's what it is. Waiting for Godot, but fucking the two characters whose name I can't even remember right now are making a podcast, waiting for their first audience member.
Wow. So you took that all the way to its logical conclusion and beyond. You're like Buzz Lightyear, to its logical conclusion and beyond. I started laughing. I don't apologize. I was laughing because you were like, because we were like waiting for Gato. Hey, like you threw in a weird sexual hey, and it was hilarious. As you were working through that.
Oh God.
So if I can be the anchor again for a second,
please, thank God.
I think in general, I love the spirit and the sort of general idea behind all of that. But I think we have to find a different play because just because it'd have to be something that we could both really sink our teeth into, that would be like, you make a strong point about its marketability or about its viability, that it checks certain boxes. But one of the boxes that I think it should also definitely check is that it's something that like really turns us on. And that's, for me at least, that's not, I did that play and I'm not crazy about it. I'm not like a big,
okay. So I've never gotten the chance to do it. So that's like, for me, it's kind of like Godot is a little bit like Hamlet for me. It's like, I just want to do Godot. You know, I just like, it's one of those plays. I've never done it. I've seen it a couple of times. It's been pretty decent, but like it holds a spot in my heart, even though I know it's like not the, I just like, maybe I'll reread it because I bet you I can make you fall in love with it in this day and age.
Well, I like languagey plays. I like things that are very much centered around, we're going to take language and argument and points of view and we're going to make it into a fucking festival. I do love that. I love it. I mean, usually I love it with more with realism, but even absurdism, like I can get down on that. That's just not one of the, I remember working on that and like it was really difficult to memorize the lines because it's so circular and kind of repetitive, and it never spoke to me. Hey, listen, you have my permission to try to convince me otherwise, but there are so many other things that grab my interest so much more immediately and viscerally and just hook into something really in my center sacrosanct whatever thing that
do you have a two-hander? So I ordered tape. I have it. I am going to read it. But do you have a two-hander for that you and I could play? That you're like, this would turn me on, that I should read?
Well, if we produced a play, I would want to do a three-hander and I would want Blondie to be in it. But to answer the question that you asked, two-hander. I mean, I'm obsessed with the zoo story. I still am.
Okay.
I really, really love that fucking play. I love the commentary. I love the character of Jerry. I love the fact that he's kind of, this is a little bit in line with what we were saying about, anchoring and going to outer space and all that stuff. Um, because Jerry is a character who is not, you don't relate to him like, oh, he's just like me,
Mm-hmm.
but he says things that are undeniably true in a really interesting way. So you kind of discover that you have things in common with him, or at least that he makes a really strong point. It's a really interesting thing to me that this character exists on the fringes of society, and if you saw him on the street, you would probably run away. But his arguments are clear and cogent and
Mm-hmm.
meaningful, and there's something about him that sort of represents a part of what exists within all of us, but we were never able to articulate it as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's just the stuff. It's like there are things that I said something the other day. Oh, this is not a great example of this, but it's the first thing I can think of. I think it was last night. I was talking to Elise about how you and I title our messages to one another,
Yeah.
and I was going to try to find an interesting message title.
I mean, I
And
feel like our message titles are so fucking littered with interesting, I would hope, but yeah, continue.
I think our fucking message titles are fucking tight, 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 tight. But when I opened the voice memos app, the first thing I saw was my most recent one to you, which was just called, I think it's called Isolated Wand Message.
Yes.
And she just saw that and she just burst into laughter. Like I didn't even search and find something that I was proud of. She just saw that I sent you a message called Isolated Wand Message.
This
Because to her,
actually, this brings
yeah,
me to Kellyanne. Kellyanne's like listen to the podcast that I just sent you. I don't know if you've listened to it yet or not, but like she was like, "Why don't you just publish your messages back and forth?" That's and especially with our titles. Anyway, continue.
we should talk further about publishing our fucking messages because there's a lot of great shit in there.
There's
But
excellent stuff.
yeah, this thing about you and I have sort of an affinity for a particular use of language that to any like-minded person, I feel like there are people who will appreciate our approach to that and then the way we use those things.
Yeah,
And so that's something that is present in the zoo story, the way he
we
uses
gotta.
language. um it also, I mean, if you were black, I would be talking about the Sunset Limited right now, but we're both white guys, so
Whoa, 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 whoa! I'm black.
do you identify as black? Have you ever
I
seen a
do.
movie called Neo Ned? It's an early Jeremy Renner film
Okay.
where he's in like some kind of mental institution because he's got some kind of, I forget what his affliction is, and he befriends a young lady who she's black, but she thinks that she's Adolf Hitler.
What?
And so she identifies as Adolf Hitler.
By the way, I did tell Kellyanne that I would be done at 7:30. It is 7:29. So let's consider this a 2-minute warning.
Okay, very good.
You know what? I guess my one thought on yesterday's is that we didn't. I feel like we should have a solid outro, and I feel like we're still jumbling it.
Mm.
you know? And I think it should just be your version of the toast, and then it's not about the whiskey, hail Satan, or what, and then our two things. But I
All
do
right.
think there should be a toast because it's not about the whiskey, you know?
Okay. So, and we also need to do a couple episodes where we do a little whiskey tasting, because if it's not about the whiskey,
We should
We
probably be
can
drinking
do-
whiskey.
we can do 2 or even 3 where there's no whiskey involved, but I feel like every second, third, or fourth, there should actually be a whiskey tasting so that we can justify the title.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the whiskey, but the word whiskey is in the title. It's not about the whiskey.
It's not about the whiskey. What if we just never talk about whiskey at all?
And people are like, why is it called that? Well, because it's not about that. So we talk about other
But,
things.
yeah, it's not about a lot of other things, but well, here's to fighting, fucking, and shitting. If you fight, may you fight for a friend. You have to do the next line.
If you steal, may you steal a lover's car.
No, I said fuck. You have to follow the fuck.
If you fuck, may you fuck your lover's car.
And if you shit, may you shit with us. It's not about the whiskey.
It's not about the whiskey.
All right, peace and love.
Hail the Dark Lord.
Okay.